Hi everyone, it's Emily with Cozy Clicks, and today I'm going to be going over what you should include in your portrait photography contract. Now this is a little bit different than the tutorials I usually show you guys on my YouTube channel, but for whatever reason I had so many of you emailing me this week asking about what I include in my portrait photography contract, and I saw this question come up so many times over in my Facebook group that I thought I would just address it for you all here. So I'm going to be going over what the basic things you should include are, plus a few things that I learned along the way that you might not realize should be in there. Now, before I get started, I just want to throw out there that I am not a lawyer. I am a photographer, so you really want to make sure you're visiting a lawyer in your state and going over your contract with them to make sure that it is legal and valid and binding. So let's take a look and see what should be in your contract.
All right, so this is what you should include in your portrait contract. First, the basics. These are things you need to have in your contract that you've probably already heard of before. First thing, you want to make sure you have a payment schedule in your contract somewhere. The amount of money that's due and when it's due and how you're going to accept that payment. Next, you want to make sure you include exactly what's included in your photography package. If they get 15 digital images, then put that in there. If you're going to give them an online gallery of 30 and they get to choose from 15, put that in there. But make sure it's very clear what's included in your photography package. Now, the next one is the model release, and that's pretty important if you want to use your clients' images for your website or on social media. Now, it's a great way to advertise your business and the work that you can produce, but your clients have to sign the model release and they have to understand where you'll be using these images. If they choose not to sign off on the model release, you cannot use their images on your website or on social media. So make sure they're well aware of this. The next information you want in your contract is copyright information. And that basically is going to go over who has copyright and what rights they have to those images. And finally, you want to have some kind of cancellation policy in place. What if they cancel 30 days out? What if they cancel 1 hour before your session is supposed to begin? What if they call you when you're already on site and cancel? Have a policy in place so that they know if their retainer is lost or if they have to pay a rescheduling fee or whatever your policy is. But make sure that it's written and in place. Now, over time, there were a few other points that I added into my contract as I found the issues come up. So these next few things might be areas you haven't quite thought of yet, but you might want to consider adding into your contract. Now, the first thing you might not have thought of was having some kind of policy about the weather. What are you going to do if it rains? What if it's too cold out or too hot out? Are you going to allow the client to cancel? Do you have the discretion to cancel or reschedule? You want to have a clear policy. And I found this issue because I shoot in Arizona a lot where it's very bright, very sunny. And if there was ever a day that it was cloudy or a little overcast, I had clients that would get nervous that their pictures weren't going to look great and they would want to cancel right away, which became an issue because I was very booked solid and didn't have room to reschedule. And I knew the pictures would still look great on a cloudy day. So that is why I added a weather clause in my contract. Now, another thing you want to think about is what happens on the off chance that you get sick. Now, I'm not talking about a couple little sniffles or a cold. You shouldn't cancel over that, but I'm talking about what if you wake up and you cannot move, you can't get out of bed, there's no way in the world you'll be able to get up and shoot great photos that day. You need to have some kind of policy in your contract about what happens if you are too ill to go through with a session. Now, let me tell you a quick story with this slide about a photographer friend of mine a couple years ago who had bought all kinds of cool new props for a photo session, had paid a premium fee for a location that charged an additional amount, and then spent time going there to make sure that the lighting was great and that the spots she wanted to use were ideal for the look her client wanted. Now, the client never purchased any of the photos she took that day, and she was very upset and talked to me about this. And what had happened was they weren't necessarily upset by the quality of her work, but what they told her was, well, Grandma had taken pictures that looked similar to the ones that were in the gallery, and that was all right with them. They were just going to go with the ones that Grandma had taken at the session. Well, needless to say, she was very upset because she had already spent time and money and her own creativity to set up this session. So, just as something to think about, you may want to put a clause in your contract that does not allow other photography during your session. And that could be no phone photography, no other professional photography or professional grade cameras at your session. So just another thing to think about to add to your contract. And finally, you also might want to put a late policy in there. It does happen. People are late, people oversleep, people get in traffic, or just misjudge time. You want to make sure you put in a late policy so that your clients know what will happen if they're 10 minutes late, 30 minutes late, 40 minutes late, or if they miss their whole session.
All right, now that I went through what should be in your portrait photography contract, I want to give you a really great piece of advice. And that is, be very transparent with your clients. Tell them up front, right away, exactly what you expect from them, exactly what they are going to get, exactly what they can expect from you. Don't try to be sneaky. Don't hide things back. Don't not include things in your contract. Be as clear as you can with them, because that's going to make your clients appreciate you more as a photographer, but it's also going to eliminate any confusion, any frustration, any anger that may happen along the way. So be very transparent, be very clear. Now, if you'd like to read this article in its entirety, I have linked the blog article below in the description. You can also read it and get a link to a free portrait photography contract download just by going to cozyclicks.com/contract, and you can read the article and get that free download there too. I hope you learned something. Good luck with creating your portrait photography contracts. Thanks, guys.